As well as Mr Sunak, other candidates have been setting out their stalls all at the same time. So a very busy hour here in politics. We've heard from Tom Tugendhat, the senior backbencher, and also Kemi Badenoch, former Equalities Minister. Mr Tugendhat has said he is over the 20 margin. Kemi Badenoch, we haven't had that confirmed just yet, although there's been a huge amount of interest in her campaign launch and what she has had to say so far. And I think we can hear a clip of her now.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. It's time to tell the truth. For too long, politicians have been telling us that we can have it all, that you can have your cake and eat it. And I'm here to tell you that that isn't true. It never has been. There are always tough choices in life and in politics. No free lunches, no tax cuts without limits on government spending, no stronger defence without a slimmer state. Governing involves trade-offs, and we need to start being honest about that. Unlike others, I'm not going to promise you things without a plan to deliver them. People are sick of that. They're crying out for honesty. Today, I want to be honest about our economic challenge. The scale of the challenge we face means we can't run away from the truth. Inflation has made the cost of living crisis acute, but the problems go back way further. We've had a poor decade for living standards. We have overburdened our economy. There is too much unproductive public spending, consuming taxpayers' hard-earned money, and there are too many well-meaning regulations slowing growth and clogging up the arteries of the economy. Too many policies, like the net zero target, set up with no thought to the effect on industries in the poorer parts of this country. The consequence is simply to displace emissions to other countries, unilateral economic disarmament. And that is why we need change. And that is why I'm running to be leader. to be a Prime Minister who tells the truth, because the truth will set us free. The problems run deep, and I'm in no doubt about the scale of the challenge any new Prime Minister will have to deal with. The underlying economic problems we face have been exacerbated by COVID and by war. But what makes the situation worse is that the answers to our problems, Conservative answers, haven't been articulated or delivered in a way appropriate to the modern age. We have been in the grip of an underlying economic, social, cultural and intellectual malaise. The right has lost its confidence and courage. Our ability to defend the free market as the fairest way of helping people prosper has been undermined. It has been undermined by a willingness to embrace protectionism for special interests. It's been undermined by retreating in the face of the Ben and Jerry's tendency, those who say a business's main priority is social justice, not productivity and profit. And it's been undermined by the actions of crony capitalists who collude with big bureaucracy to rig the system in favour of incumbents against entrepreneurs. The truth that limited government, doing less but better, is the best way to restore faith in government has been forgotten, as we've pandered to pressure groups and caved in to every campaigner with a moving message. And that has made the government agenda into a shopping list of disconnected, unworkable and unsustainable policies. The knowledge that the nation state, our democratic nation state, is the best way for people to live in harmony and enjoy prosperity has been overridden by the noisy demands of those who want to delegitimize, decolonize and denigrate. And if we don't stand up for our shared institutions, for free speech, due process and the rule of law, then we end up with a zero-sum game of identity politics which only increases divisions when we need to come together. So free markets, limited government, a strong nation state, those are the Conservative principles we need to beat back protectionism, populism and polarisation and to prepare us for the challenges ahead to win for our country. If I were Prime Minister, I would be driven by these Conservative principles to deliver a fairer, freer, wealthier and united Britain. It's those Conservative principles and a belief in facing facts, however uncomfortable, with unflinching honesty that will guide my approach to government and how we put things right. So, how are we going to do this? I'm an engineer, a systems thinker, a problem solver. In engineering, you can't overcome resistance with rhetoric. You can't get the machine to work with promises. You need to analyze the issue deeply, untangle the mess others have made, and methodically put things right. In the debate we've been having about the future of our party and our country, there have been lots of promises to cut taxes, and I can understand why. With economic growth faltering and the highest tax burden in decades, it is right that we ask how we reduce taxes on businesses, families, and individuals. And I am committed to reducing corporate and personal taxes. But I will not enter into a tax bidding war over my tax cuts are bigger than yours. To make promises that you cannot keep is a betrayal of everything that I stand for. And I really want to stress that the dividing line in this race is not tax cuts, it's judgment. We can only deliver lower taxes if we stop pretending that the state continue to do everything we are currently trying to do. We need to recognise it is not just a matter of doing the same with less. We need to focus on the essentials. We need to be straight with people. The idea we can simply say efficiency savings, click our heels 3 times and they will materialise, it's for the birds. It is the scale and structure of government that drives the inefficiencies. My government will discard the priorities of Twitter and focus on the people's priorities. When we can't deliver passports and driving licenses on time, why are we spending millions on people whose jobs literally didn't exist a decade ago, like staff well-being coordinators in the public sector? What about the well-being of the actual public who can't go on holiday because we can't process a piece of paper in time? We are now taxing and spending more on government than we have ever done, and yet people's satisfaction with the quality of their day-to-day services is falling. This is not sustainable. We can't carry on subsidising so many young people onto university courses, which leave them with debts and diminished job prospects. We must require schools to concentrate on effective whole-class teaching of rigorous subjects rather than allocating tight resources to superfluous support staff and peripheral activities. We should get the police to focus on neighbourhood crime, not waste time and resources worrying about hurt feelings online. And in reducing what government tries to do, we not only reduce the cost of government, we focus government on the people's priorities, we allow the space for individuals, employers and entrepreneurs to solve problems. And only then do we create the opportunity to cut taxes. Yes. We can reduce the amount we spend on international aid while still remaining a force for good in the world. We can ensure an efficient civil service, but let's be clear, simply getting rid of diversity and equality officers is not going to move the dial. It's not good enough to just promise a bonfire of quangos. Every single quango leader should be accountable and sackable by a democratic minister. We can create proper accountability around the £100 billion in grant which government currently dispenses. Every household in the country, especially during this current cost of living crisis, thinks about value for money with every pound of the earned wages that they spend. Government doesn't do that with people's hard-earned taxes. While the priority of the £300 billion the government spends on procurement should be value for money, in truth, this is being undermined by tick-box exercises in sustainability, diversity and equality. These are good things, but they need to be done properly, and we mustn't move away from the core mission. Now, I recognise that this is an ambitious agenda, and running to be Prime Minister when you're a 42-year-old is by definition ambitious. But I am ambitious, but for our country and for our party. I chose to become a Conservative MP to serve, and I chose this country because here I could breathe free and I could be everything that I wanted to be. I grew up in Nigeria, and I saw firsthand what happens when politicians are in it for themselves, when they use public money as their private piggy banks, when they promise the earth and pollute not just the air but the whole political atmosphere with their failure to serve others. I saw what socialism means for millions. It's poverty and broken dreams. I came to Britain determined to make my way in a country where hard work and honest endeavour can take you anywhere. I paid my way through college, working in McDonald's, flipping burgers, cleaning loos, and I learned firsthand that earning your own money rather than relying on others gives you not just more freedom, but more dignity. I am so grateful to so many people who took a chance on me and helped me succeed. But I also remember that throughout my life, there have been people who said, you can't, you shouldn't, this is not for you. And in politics, many people who said, you're in the wrong party, you're saying the wrong things, you can't do that. But I'm not the sort of person who you can sideline, silence, or cancel. I tell the truth, I fight for change, I stand up for people, and I stand up for the causes and the country I love. Some might say this is no time for novices. I think this is no time for steady as it goes sinking into decline. It's time for change. To win the next election and deliver Conservative solutions to the challenges of today, the Conservative Party must stand as the party for change. I have the conviction, the courage, and the clarity of thought to deliver that change for the people of this country. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a very enthusiastic support group. Thank you. And now on to questions. And I think I have a question from Nick from the BBC. Nick?
Thank you. Kemi Badenoch, Nick Watt from BBC Newsnight. Anyone who knows you knows that you always speak your mind. But I'm wondering how that would work if you become Prime Minister. And if there's a choice between achieving unity in your divided party or pursuing your convictions, what comes first, unity or conviction?
I don't agree with the premise of your question, Nick. I think you can do both. People need to know that what you're saying is true. Without that, you will never get any unity. And perhaps if we'd been honest with each other a lot longer ago, we might be more united than we are now. Perhaps if, for instance, we hadn't made promises to each other, even within our party, about various things that we wanted to do, which some members then didn't see happening, there would be a little bit more trust and then a bit more unity. So I think you have to start from first principles. If people can't believe what you are saying, if they don't know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, then why should they vote for you? So conviction creates unity. And then from GB News, Darren McCaffrey.
Hello, Darren McCaffrey from GB News. Just in many regards, in what you've talked about today in setting up the policy agenda, what is the kind of ambition for taking on the Labour Party at the next general election? We may only be 18 months out. What do you think is going to win over those voters who switched to the Conservative Party in 2019?
I think it's my approach is to focus on how we can present ourselves as a party of government. I never start by attacking Labour. We are in government and we need to continue to demonstrate competence. But also, we need to show that we are a party that listens to the public. For the last few months, we've spent a lot of time talking about ourselves, which I think has been really unhealthy We need to talk about people's priorities. At the moment, that's cost of living, it's education, it's crime, it's health and social care, it's those bread and butter issues. I do think that Conservatives have the right policies and we need to articulate them better, especially when we have difficult decisions to make. But what I would say to people who are considering voting Labour is that almost everything that we have done that they didn't like, Labour wanted us to do more of it and go faster and harder. Shihab Khan from ITV.
Dominic Raab, the Deputy Prime Minister, and Grant Shapps have come out in support for Rishi Sunak whilst you've been talking. Liz Truss has got the support of Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nadine Dorries. There seems to be significant momentum behind the two of those, both of whom have served in senior positions within the Cabinet. How do you differentiate yourself and take those two campaigns on, given that there's so much momentum behind the both?
So I have a lot of respect for Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. I was a junior minister to both of them in the Treasury and inequalities, but I feel that there needs to be a genuine debate in our party before we select the leader. We shouldn't just assume that it's a continuation of what we've had before, but with different personalities. So I do think I am a differentiator, because I do think that I talk a little bit more about what the state is doing wrong. I think we sometimes get overly defensive as a government and don't want to stop doing certain things because it looks like they are U-turns. I think sometimes we worry about changing our minds if things aren't working. I'm prepared to actually look at many of the activities that government is carrying out which don't necessarily need to be which the states, in fact, I should say, rather than governments, which don't necessarily need to be done. I think that is a differentiator. I think that I differentiated myself from both of them on lots of social issues when I was speaking in my equalities brief, and I have something to say that I think the party and the public want to hear. Yeah. So I'm in this to win it. I'm not worried about Rishi, I'm not worried about Liz or any of the other candidates. I want you to hear the message that I'm giving. Jonathan Riley from The Sun.
You talk about not giving people a free lunch, but many Sun readers will be concerned about paying their heating bills in the winter, buying groceries that are affordable. If you became Prime Minister on September the 5th, what would you do in the short term to tackle the cost of living crisis?
So the cost of living crisis is the big thing that we are dealing with, and inflation is what's driving it and likely to make things worse. So tackling inflation, that's what government should be doing. We need to get it under control, because if we don't, things could still get a lot worse. And I think that if we focus on the things that government should be doing, that only government can do, we will make things easier for people, both in the short, medium and long term. What I'm not going to do is come out with lots of micro policies about giving people £50 cash here or a rebate there. I think it's very inefficient. There's a lot of dead weight in how we run government. I have people in my constituency telling me that they don't need the winter fuel payments that we give them because they can afford it. Why do we not have a more sophisticated mechanism for means testing? Those are the sort of long-term things which government should be doing, which we haven't been doing, because we're focusing always on the short term, on the news headlines for tomorrow. So what I'm not going to do is give headlines for tomorrow. I'm talking about system change.
System change. A lot of focus there in Kemi Badenoch's launch campaign, formal campaign launch to become the next Prime Minister, next leader of the Conservative Party, on competence and on clarity of thought. She cited her background as an engineer, as a systems thinker, a problem solver, and said she would bring these skills to bear if she was chosen.